Coffee on carnivore, is it allowed or is it a total no-go? At Meatstock 2026, I asked over 25 carnivore doctors, creators, and coaches one simple question. What are your thoughts on coffee on the carnivore diet? And let me tell you, you're going to hear some very different opinions. I'll answer first. Personally, I think coffee is totally fine for most people on carnivore unless you're doing a very strict elimination protocol like the Lion diet. At the end of the day, this diet should work for you, your goals, and your health. Personally, I drink black decaf coffee, and if I have some raw heavy cream from Miller's Biofarm on hand, I might add a little bit of that too. And sometimes I'll add a few drops of Switch allulose drops. I'm loving that. I'll put all of that in the description below. I've experimented with cutting out coffee completely for a few weeks and then reintroducing it. And honestly, I realized no real difference either way. And that's what works for me. Now in this video, you're going to hear perspectives from some of the biggest names in the carnivore space, and you can use their experience and insights to help decide what makes the most sense for your body and your goals. Also, a huge shout out to Meatstock for making this possible. If you want to join us next year, early bird tickets are available now. And if you'd like the chance to actually stay with some of these creators during Meatstock weekend in 2027, I'm also hosting a carnivore retreat that same weekend. All the info for both is linked in the description below. And if you're interested in the retreat, be sure to jump on it ASAP. These types of experiences usually sell out very quickly. Now let's dive into this.
I think it depends, honestly. I mean, in my book, The Carnivore Diet, I mentioned coffee is something a lot of people will consume. Coffee, for some people, is very beneficial. About 50% of people give it up, notice a significant benefit, but 50% of the people also don't notice any difference. So it's one of those things I tell people, don't give up coffee right away. You know, if you're used to it, try carnivore 3-6 months, and then once you've kind of settled in, and if you're still having issues, you might consider dropping coffee.
I'm definitely a coffee girl. I think coffee can be a really great tool, but there's a couple things you need to pay attention to. One, if you require coffee to function, there might be something wrong with your energy systems. So you may have to work on that first so that this doesn't become a crutch for you. And then two, I really do encourage people to look for mold-free coffee. Mold is a really big issue, and it can be something that actually perpetuates chronic inflammation and other diseases. So it's a really easy switch to at least get it out of your coffee.
Prior to doing a Carnivore Prime, I would have said, doesn't really matter, but I did a Carnivore Prime. Kudos to Steak and Butter Gang for creating that. Long story short, I went and did the long version of losing weight, which includes eating 3 meals a day, but you can't have coffee before you eat breakfast because it changes your hunger signals, basically. So you eat and then you have coffee. It changes the way your cortisol works and all that. So point is, I would say once you get to a place where you're eating intuitively and you actually know what your signals feel like, sure, have coffee. I'm having decaf right now, but if you are unfamiliar with what that feels like, have coffee after you eat food. That's what I would say.
Well, I'm not a coffee drinker, but if you're going to drink coffee, I suggest you drinking it from a mycotoxin and mold-free source. I think it's also based on individuality. Like if you are struggling with any type of autoimmune issue, any type of chronic illness, I feel like coffee is not a good thing to have. But if you're more stabilized, then and you can find a source that is trusted, mold-free, mycotoxin-free, and it's okay for you, then sure. But also, if you are going to do it, since it's very dehydrating, I would also make sure that you incorporate some electrolytes.
I drank coffee for most of my carnivore years until about, honestly, my first year I did not drink coffee. When I was pregnant and nursing each of the 3 babies, I didn't drink coffee, a little decaf. And then for all the rest of my years of carnivore until a year ago, I enjoy coffee so much. And it didn't cause me, I mean, I've had serious time with and without, could not tell any difference, except I've had a patulous eustachian tube, which causes hearing loss in my left ear. I would have never in a million years thought coffee would have anything to do with that, because why would it? It's an ear. I've never once put coffee in it. But I went on some online forums and found that the hearing issue is wildly exacerbated by caffeine. So a year ago, I had to cut out caffeine, and it got so much better so fast, which was overwhelmingly happy and a little bit sad. I do still have some decaf. I think it's like most everything. If it's causing you a problem, probably don't have it. If it's not causing you a problem, enjoy your coffee.
I've done both, and for me, it didn't make a difference, except that I am sensitive to caffeine. So when I was doing it, I wasn't most of the time I wasn't. I would do periods without and periods with. I didn't see a big difference except for the caffeine. I found the only problem with coffee is that I want to turn it into like a nice creamy sweet mix, and I don't know, just drinking it plain didn't work for me. So it's a tough one. You got to be at the right spot in your journey to be able to have it.
Yeah, so I'm not here to take away anybody's caffeine. Like, I understand that and I live that. So I have coffee. I have never cut out coffee for a long period of time because it's just something I enjoy. I don't feel like it affects me negatively. So I think coffee on carnivore is fine. I'm a fan.
People will drop everything else and they're just like, you cannot take this away from me. This is my last thing. It's like, all right, fair enough. You're getting rid of so many things that are bad for you. Having one thing that's not necessarily optimal, it's like, all right, we're still a lot better than you were. Objectively though, it does have plant toxins in it. It has phytic acid, lectins, tannins, saponins, other sorts of things that will disrupt your digestion. Caffeine is an insecticide. It's a neurotoxin. It's designed by plants to fry the brains of insects trying to eat them. It's high in acrylamide, which is also a neurotoxin. So these are sort of things, especially with people with neurological conditions, I see them do a lot better without coffee, even decaf. The other thing is they have a lot of anti-nutrients like the ones I just mentioned. And I have a lot of patients that are on medication and we can track them with blood work. And if they have coffee within 2 hours of having their medication, it doesn't even show up in their blood work. It's like they're not taking it. And so at the very least, I would separate out coffee, even decaf, by at least 2 hours before or after meals, medications, or supplements. But in general, it's best not to have it. And if you are having it, take magnesium at night.
I think the vast majority of people can drink and enjoy their coffee on a carnivore diet. There are, however, a small percentage of people who probably need to limit the coffee or maybe even eliminate it altogether. There's definitely proven research that there's a few phytochemicals in coffee that can cause inflammation in some folks, not all folks, and also can raise your triglycerides and maybe even raise your blood sugar. And so if you're one of those carnivores whose triglycerides are still high, first of all, try to filter your coffee, because I know you love your coffee, but a lot of coffee making methods don't filter it. And so by filtering it, you get out these stones and steins. I can't remember the exact names, but then your triglycerides and blood sugar will come down. You can keep your coffee. But if you're one of those people that it causes inflammation, you got to wean it down and stop it.
Okay, so coffee, I love coffee. I have coffee every morning and I do just fine with it. But I am aware that I could have potentially had some sensitivity to coffee. This was about 5 years ago. I was trying to get pregnant and I'd heard you need to cut out caffeine. So I did do 3 months, no coffee, no caffeine, nothing. The only difference I saw was I hated life. So after I got pregnant, I went back to having my coffee. Over the years, I have lessened the amount of coffee that I consume because I was drinking more than was appropriate. But yeah, it depends. You may be sensitive, you may not be sensitive, you may see benefits of taking it out, or you may be like me and it just made your life not as cool.
I'm okay with coffee on carnivore. Sometimes it's that nice ritual in the morning. I know I like to take my coffee, go down, do my morning devotionals. So I think being like legalistic about coffee can kind of rob joy. So when we're looking at coffee though, we want it to be organic, mycotoxin free, and free of pesticides. So I think that is more important. If you're going to Starbucks on carnivore and getting cold brew, well, that's another issue to talk about.
I am a coffee lover. I drink coffee every single day, and I like my coffee black because I truly love the flavor and taste of good coffee. My rule for coffee is I'll have my coffee after eating breakfast, and I really notice a big difference in my energy, how long it lasts throughout the day, as well as lack of jitteriness. So that's my little hack. If you are a coffee lover, you still want to enjoy coffee as a carnivore, I love it. I do it. Try it after breakfast.
Oh, it's totally fine. I'm not an anti-coffee person. I think if you're just starting carnivore and it's your first week or your first month and you're eating like high carbs, sugars, cupcakes and all the rest of it, coffee is totally fine. There are some health benefits with coffee. Dr. Ken Berry talks about it, but there are some people that say it's coffee that is not clean and perfect carnivore. And if you're just starting in your first month or few months, don't try to be perfect. Be consistent. Have your coffee, and a great tip is to wait until your first meal is over to have your cup of coffee, because that can really lower your appetite and make it harder to get in the number one macronutrient that you need, which is protein, not so much fat.
So coffee and carnivore, I think that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. I think that if you tolerate coffee, definitely keep it. I do think that if you look at the quality of your coffee, that's super important. So making sure that you're getting a mold-free coffee. And then if you're someone who is super balanced throughout the day, you're not having any insomnia or sleep issues, mood issues, energy crashes, ups and downs, that type of thing throughout the day, then that is definitely a case where coffee might work for you. If you can't sleep, if you're having energy issues, ups and downs, crashes like I was saying, those are cases where you'd want to look at coffee and see if that's affecting you. That being said, if I have someone keep coffee, it's not 12 cups a day. I still prefer that they keep it to 1 to 2 cups in the morning before 10, ideally, and then go from there with watching how well it works for you.
Yes, please. Next question. I've given it up for I think like a week or two. The only thing I noticed was less joy. So, if you tolerate it, include it. There's nothing wrong with it.
I think if people could tolerate it, go for it. I personally don't do it because I get really jittery and it's just something that gave me a lot of anxiety. But if it's something that works for you, do it.
I think it's obviously up to the individual, but it can be very dehydrating. So if you feel very dehydrated, especially in the transition period, probably not the best idea. If you find you have a bit of anxiety or you're an anxious person and you want to get rid of that, wouldn't recommend coffee. If you're trying to heal your hunger signals, if you previously had an eating disorder or binge eating, coffee can sort of mess with you adapting to finding your hunger signals again, because it can be a bit of an appetite suppressant, which might seem like a good idea, but you also want to be in tune with your body and listening to your hunger signals telling you when you're actually hungry and the correct amount of food that you require. So if you're drowning that out with coffee as an appetite suppressant, then you're messing with learning how to read those hunger signals. It also puts a bit of stress on your adrenal glands, so you will have less receptivity to your fight or flight response if you're always pumping your adrenal glands with coffee. So if you want to have a really good baseline and have that ability to have a really sharp fight or flight response when you need it, then coffee is not the best idea. But at the same time, some people seem to do pretty well with having coffee. It doesn't affect them too much. So to those people, keep having coffee.
Quick pause, because since this entire video is about coffee and carnivore, I have to tell you guys what I've personally been using lately. I typically drink decaf black coffee, but recently I've been adding about 5 to 7 drops of the Switch allulose drops, and I've honestly been loving them. Now, one of the reasons I like allulose so much is because unlike most sweeteners, studies have shown that it can actually help lower blood sugar while also maintaining ketones, which is pretty wild. And I've actually seen that in my own glucose and ketone data. And if you've been around my channel for a while, you know I'm very picky about ingredients and products that I recommend. Switch also makes candies, syrups, and a bunch of other low-carb products that are actually really good. And they're a small business run by absolutely amazing people. Susie and Grant, the owners, are seriously some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life, and I always love supporting companies that genuinely care about quality ingredients and the low-carb community. So if you want to check them out, you can save 10% off with my link down in the description. All right, let's get back to these carnivore experts.
Oh, coffee on carnivore. I know everybody says we shouldn't do it, so I compromised. I gave up caffeine, except I have to say this weekend I am wired because that's all I had available. But normally I do not do caffeinated coffee anymore. I find that coffee is a good butter delivery system for me in the mornings, and I love the ritual of it. So I do, but I also have managed to give it up for 4 months at a time and just have hot water or hot water with lemon. I kind of go back and forth, but for the most part, I would say I am more decaffeinated coffee, and I think it's okay. It doesn't bother me.
Coffee on carnivore. Well, it is a plant bean broth, essentially. But I drink coffee. I was off it for 2.5 years. I went back on it about 6 months ago. I didn't really notice a difference. So I do it black. You could add some cream or butter. I think it's good. But again, a caffeinated or decaffeinated, I don't have a problem with it personally. I do some decaf, I do some caffeinated. Some people do herbal teas and decaf or caffeinated teas. So I enjoy it from time to time, but not all the time.
I think coffee for everyone is toxic. It is filled with mold, which mold is so harmful for people. It raises your blood sugar on average about 8%, and what goes up must come down. So if you suffer with some cravings, it's going to take your hunger away. But then once you stop drinking coffee, which you must throughout the day sometime, it's going to make your hunger come back with a vengeance. Nobody sleeps anymore, and caffeine is just going to mess with your sleep even more. It makes your teeth brown. It can cause gastroparesis. I mean, do you want me to go on? I do not agree with coffee. And believe me, this is someone who worked at a coffee shop since I've been 15 years old. I had an IV of free coffee in my arm. So I understand the addiction. It was real, and it's something that causes PCOS. Excess caffeine increases androgens, and that's what I suffered with. Caffeine was the hardest thing for me to break, and I didn't cut it out until I was about 30, and I wish I would have started earlier.
Coffee and carnivore, I am one that is, if you have anything wrong with you, like autoimmune issues or anything kind of going on that's extra and you really want to heal, I think no coffee. But if you are thriving and doing fine and no markers are going down, then you should have coffee. I'm pregnant currently, and to get pregnant, I didn't drink any coffee, or through pregnancy, I didn't drink coffee. So obviously I think it strips nutrients and it's not good for fertility. That's kind of my thoughts on carnivore and coffee.
I love coffee on the carnivore diet just because I am a coffee drinker. It does not seem to affect me, but honestly, N=1 experiment. Go for a while without it and see if you try adding it back in, does it affect you? For me personally, it does not, but to each their own. Some people can handle it, some can't.
I'm okay with coffee. First of all, it's fermented, and I promote carnivore with ferments for the microbial value. Coffee is not probiotic. There's no beneficial microbes in coffee, but it is fermented, and it does change it into a more beneficial form. So I'm okay with it. It actually improves your microbiome. So coffee is a big yes for me. It's been associated with decreased heart disease, strokes, and decreased dementia, and overall better cognition and better performance. So big thumbs up with coffee.
I personally would not recommend it. I don't do coffee. I've never done coffee. Coffee is a plant, so I wouldn't consider that carnivore. But yeah, I would definitely stay away from coffee.
Wow, coffee on carnivore is so controversial, and I take a middle of the road stance because it is pretty individual. I personally, coming from an addictive background, once I realized I got off of my sugar addiction, I didn't want to be addicted to anything, so I got off the caffeine, but I sometimes still have it, and I do love a little bit of my favorite salter coffee, salted caramel, but it's, it's individual.
Well, I am not a coffee drinker, so I don't have a personal opinion about it from, oh, I love coffee, I could never do coffee on carnivore. If someone were asking me, I'd say yes, no problems.
So I think this is really individual. Personally, I quit coffee for 8 months because I thought it was just making my heart race instead of waking me up and wasn't doing me any favors. And so after about 8 months, I started craving it again, and I was still strict carnivore, and I tested it slowly and I felt fine. So I think it just depends on if you feel good on it, that's fine. Some people want to cut it out completely to find any triggers that they might have, but really just test it for yourself.
I drink coffee. I don't think there's anything wrong with keeping some coffee. And now I do drink decaf because I do feel like at least I'm not getting the caffeine. I didn't realize until I went off of coffee that it was causing me terrible anxiety. So that's just something to keep in mind. But I don't think there's anything wrong with having a little bit of something that's not carnivore, especially if it's I can't do carnivore because of this one thing. Just keep it, see how you do.